Sorry about the wait, just got to wait for one other to come. Once he's here, then we can start. Shouldn't be too long. Oh, here he comes, just got his coffee. Okay, great. So over to the panel.
Right. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. What I'll try to do is maybe start with a brief intro with Pascal. Maybe Pascal, would you like to just give a 30-second overview of what you do for the benefit of the audience?
So I tried to make it a tweet. Well, I don't know, but we build propositions in the blockchain space. Basically saying, okay, guys, there's a lot of stuff going on in this space. Everybody has great ideas, but 80%, as you know, of the ICOs are failing. They're failing because they cannot tell me three things. They cannot tell me what jobs can be done through the blockchain. They cannot tell me what pains they're addressing, nor the gains that you have by adding a blockchain proposition. So in other words, that's what we help people do. Once we believe in it, we invest in it. Put your money where your mouth is. So we're practical, pragmatic, blockchain entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Sandeep.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandeep Ramlakan, and I'm the Managing Director and CEO, the founder of Startup 90, which is a business accelerator. Started this about 5 years ago in Cape Town, and essentially what we do is that we assist early stage businesses to validate their concepts, to connect into markets, and ultimately to get funding as they exit the accelerator. We tend to work in terms of the space that we work in. It is very much more at the forefront of technology, so working at the new and emerging technologies, new innovations that come into the market, and then how do you basically manage that this innovation and bringing that to market. So essentially, a lot of it has to do with dealing with the uncertainty involved in helping the startups navigate this route to market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm David Gallia. I come from Malta, which is a small island in the Mediterranean. Although being a small in size, it's big in ideas, and it has developed the new concept of regulating the DLT technology, looking particularly on cryptocurrencies and virtual financial assets. Our role as a company is to help our clients to set up in Malta, from incorporation to licensing and compliance monitoring, including helping them to basically comply with the law, with the new law, the VFA Act, the ITAS, and the MDI Acts, which have been introduced way back on the 1st of November. In addition to that, we also help new innovative companies, including in the blockchain industry, to tap into opportunities for funding, particularly in private equity. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carl Hapflash, and I come from a small island called Boksburg in Johannesburg. I head up business development at BVNK. We're an API-driven core banking platform for both fiat and digital assets, and we're working with regulators around the world to, as well as banks, to sort of bridge the world of fiat and digital assets critically, so beyond cryptocurrencies.
Thank you, Kyle. And my name is Anurag. For those of you who were not in the first session, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Primafelicitas. And what we do is we develop custom blockchain-based solutions for governments, enterprises, and startups. We are working on an AI and blockchain-based social networking application for professionals, which is currently in a stealth mode, will be launched in March next year. And probably some of you might have seen the networking app, which was integrated with the website for the conference. So that's one of the platforms that we have built. With that, I'll hand it over to my lovely colleague, Georgina.
Hi, my name's Georgina. I am a chief staff at The Reserve, which is a digital investment bank in the space. We have our core function is to help companies raise capital. And we are also launching an accelerator Q1 in London next year and are looking to raise a fund soon. So there are a lot of different things going on, but basically we look for the best projects and investors who want to invest into the space. I will be co-moderating the panel, and with that, I think let's kick off with our first question. So Sandeep, I've got the first question for you, just so everyone is on the same page. The topic is 2019 Make or Break. Innovation ideas making a level playing field. So, Sandeep, as founder of an accelerator, I'd like to know, in 2019, how are you envisioning projects? Are you thinking there's going to be more that you can help, or what is your strategy to tackle the first half of the year next year?
Okay, so just to be clear, what's going to change from 2018 to 2019 is largely the gist of it.
If anything, exactly.
Yeah. Well, look, largely the strategy is still going to be the same. I don't expect drastic change within the next 6 months. But what I found, particularly in South Africa, I work in the Cape Town space, is that when I started Startup 90 roughly 5 years ago, we were very early in the game, and that's sometimes the problem in terms of timing your product or your service. You're either too early, which means you have to educate the market, or you're too late, which means the space is quite saturated. So we're quite early in the game, and at that time, a lot of the corporates, the multinationals, didn't understand the concept of accelerators, and you had to educate them. But in the last year, 6 months, and flowing into 2019, there's been this impetus coming from the corporate sector, where they've realized they also have to catch up in terms of the innovation that's taking place, otherwise they will be disrupted. And ultimately, with the advent of, or with the Industry 4.0 technologies coming into and disrupting these kind of market spaces, every sort of sector is affected, whether it's banking, whether it's healthcare, every sort of sector will be affected. And if you think about it, traditional ways of the way we do things, at least 50% of that would change over the next 5 years. So starting from 2019, I expect a lot more innovation taking place in Cape Town, South Africa. I expect a lot more funding coming through, and that's a change that I've also seen in the last 5 years. There wasn't much funding, and all of a sudden there seems to be a lot of funding. There's not a lot of viable projects, which is something that needs to be addressed. So a lot more emphasis in terms of developing these projects to become more viable and to make them investor friendly and investor ready. And largely on that side, I see a lot more change, a lot more innovation taking place. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. Pascal, if I can ask you to add on that, because it seems like both of you are in a more or less similar space. I mean, you help a lot in terms of business proposition set up. So do you see this space having moved to a point where people are mature enough to sort of not come up with absolutely absurd ideas, if I can say that here? Do you think they have evolved, or they are going to evolve next year? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you look at the stats, you see that this year has been very pivotal in venture capital coming into this space, right? So there's an adaptation on that level that I see, and I see that only continuing. I see that there's more, to your point, there's a lot of people wanting to fund something, but they don't know what to fund in a way, because there's been a huge hype in this space, but so many ideas, and on paper they looked amazing, right? But even in my discussions with some of my peers, what a lot of people are missing out is the teams that are there. They're missing out, like my point earlier. They don't have a real value proposition. The problems are sometimes problems that are not even there, and the solutions are sometimes solutions that are just pulled out of the air. But I see a lot of change when it comes to, and a lot of maturity in this market. So I definitely see people are changing and why? Because the investors are changing. They're changing their mindsets, and there's VC coming in. So which basically means, okay, tell me something really good in this space that you have. That's my not saying anything new, but that's my vision on capital coming in, and this space being dominated a little bit by capital.
So yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I think that one of the things one of the misconceptions that is prevalent in the space is that a business is still a business. You know what I mean? There's certain fundamental business economics that need to be fulfilled in order for a business to make money. If it's not making money, it's not a business. It's the end of the story. It doesn't matter what the mechanism of funding is, ICO or traditional funding. That's not going to change. And I think that's kind of what's happened. Everyone sort of thought, oh, we're going to get something for nothing, and quickly realized that there's a reason that there's such a hectic due diligence when venture capitalists are funding business. Those rules didn't just come out of nowhere. It wasn't anyone sort of saying, let's make things tough. It was there were real reasons that these sort of processes came about. I do think in terms of ICOs and ISOs and things like that, the one difference is it's going to lower the barrier for the investors themselves. I think that traditionally it's been very much the sort of high net worth individuals and very high barriers for investment. Whereas, I think going forward, more people are going to be able to invest on the ground, if I can say.
One of the big things that I believe has happened in this space, it has democratized investments, right? So, and I see that trend continuing. I have some conversations with some people, you know, they're in the small to medium-sized business area, and oftentimes if you would like to sell, you know, a piece of your business, man, it's hell, right, to do that. But once you can tokenize those businesses, right, then all of a sudden I can have a portion of a small and medium-sized business I believe in, right? So that again, I think the democratization of this space is a huge thing that's coming, and that will catch on. And I think we need to educate on that as well, because now, like I said, I can become a very small fractional owner. What do you think of art? I mean, what if I can own? I can say, guys, I got a piece of Picasso. I mean, those are things that are drastically changing.
David, are you?
Can I just add a point?
Please, I wanted you to.
Sure. I think in the space, as we have seen, most of these enterprises have a high risk attached to them. So we know that more than 80% of these enterprises fail. So one thing I see maturing in this market is the fact that rather than investing in a single entity, we can develop the concept of portfolios, whereby an investor, and the blockchain technology makes it simpler because of lower transaction costs, okay? It makes it simpler for an investor to access a portfolio of projects, thereby evening out the risk and the probability of failure of one particular entity rather than investing on a portfolio of entities. So if the risk is 85% and you invest in one entity, you've got a very strong likelihood that you will lose all your money. If you invest in 10 entities, you have a strong likelihood that at least one will succeed. So by diversifying your risk and making use of the potential that blockchain technology offers for low transaction costs, it indeed creates this groundbreaking initiative a success. One example of this is Coinbase. Coinbase has introduced portfolios. Actually, investors can invest as little as $25 in fiat currency, and they can